Okay, so I'm gonna see if I can explain what the problem is. We're spawning our guys, no problem. Spawning our 3 enemies at the beginning of wave 1. But the problem is, if we take a look at when we actually spawn them, we're doing it based on a Vulture spawn timer. So, we have this Vulture spawn timer, starts at 10, we decrement it as long as it's bigger than 0. And then if it's in this window, if it's past 9, if it's less than 9, it's going to go ahead, set it to 8, spawn our Vulture, take us out of the graveyard so we can update our position. And then it's going to count down another second, and then we're going to spawn the next one, take it out of the graveyard, and then, so this is a way of triggering 1 second apart, trigger a Vulture spawn, a Vulture spawn, a Vulture spawn. But the problem here is this isn't scalable, because if we want 5 Vultures to be spawned, we'd have to come up with another Vulture spawn timer, and that actually depends, that number depends on the amount of enemy objects we have, so that varies on the wave. So that's just, and it's just gross to have to do this much logic for every instantiation. Ideally, all we do is say, hey, give us a random spawn point, and then instantiate the Vulture at that random spawn point, and then go ahead, increment our tarot timer, whatever. So the problem here is we can't just give ourselves a spawn delay parameter to trigger the spawning field in our Vulture class, because that actually doesn't control when they get instantiated. The spawning field only really affects the viewport of the render. So what we have to do is, I think, instead of taking us out of the graveyard right away, we need to take us out of the graveyard based on the spawn delay parameter that we need to insert into our Vulture class. So if we go into our Vulture class, we can go ahead and give ourselves this spawn delay parameter. Okay. Now we're going to set that parameter. We're going to go ahead and set a field called self spawn delay. Now I don't think we can actually use the same field as the parameter, because that kind of screws stuff up. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. We can do that. We're doing that for dx and x and y, so we should be able to do that. So we're saying the parameter we pass in gets assigned to our spawn delay field within our Vulture instantiation. And then in our update, what we can do, in our update here, we can say if our self dot spawn delay is greater than 0, then we're going to go ahead and decrement that spawn delay by delta time. So if our spawn delay is a positive number, we're going to count down. So that spawn delay will be a positive number, say 3 seconds, and that means in 3 seconds we'll spawn our Vulture. Now, spawning isn't tied to the dot spawning field. That's why it's been multiple episodes to try to figure this out, because our dot spawning field is actually just to really set our viewport, so that our viewport grows as our Vulture comes out of the ground. So that's what the dot spawning is actually doing. So that's why we need this dot spawn delay to trigger the .graveyard, our self.graveyard getting false. Taking it out of the graveyard is what actually allows us to update our position, because if we're in a graveyard, we're locked into the graveyard. Otherwise, we're going to update our last positions, and that sort of deal. See, I don't think this will work actually either just yet, because we kind of need it. If not graveyard, yeah, we're updating our last alive positions, but we're still actually modifying our Y, X, like, yeah, we're still modifying our Y positions. Oh, here. So look, if we're not in the graveyard, then we actually update our X with our delta X. Okay, so that makes sense. We should be good with this. So what we need to do is, we've got our spawn delay, and we need to say if our self spawn delay is smaller than 0, then we're going to go ahead and we need an else. We need an else if right here. Dude, oh, I keep hitting U. I. Okay. There we go. So we can say if our spawn delay is smaller than 0, we're going to go ahead and set our spawn delay to 0. So we don't keep getting a bigger negative number. So that will count down spawn delay until it's a 0. Then what we need to do is we need to actually take ourselves out of the graveyard if our spawn delay is 0. So if our self.spawn delay is equal to 0, not assignment to 0, our spawn delay is 0, then we become out of the graveyard. So we say graveyard gets false, no longer graveyard. And then what that allows us to do is, in our play state, we take out the graveyard here, but we got to do a couple more things, because it'll crash because we are not giving a spawn delay parameter to any of the instantiations. So if we go starting from the top of our Vulture instantiations, this one doesn't really count because this is in a function that we're not calling just yet, but we can go ahead and just give it a 0 for now. But yeah, same with this one. This is where we're trying to write the new function to scale, so that we can scale it easier for more than one vulture and more than one wave. But we need to just test getting out of the graveyard at the right time. Okay, so what do we want to populate our dummy values at? We need to populate our dummy values, let's just say 3. We'll give it 0 right away, unless we specify otherwise. So it's like, we don't want to take it out of the graveyard though. We only want to take it out of the graveyard if it's, yeah, if not. Okay, so that is a problem. Because if we pass in a 0 here, our spawn delay will be 0, therefore we take out of the graveyard. Then we'll be off screen, but with updating values, which we don't want. This is the dummy value, so we want, maybe if we pass in 0 exactly. If it's smaller than 0, we're going to set it to -1. This is just getting weird though. Like, why would we do this? Then we're going to be testing if it's -1. Because, like, we're trying to prevent the graveyard from being taken. We're not trying to take it out of the graveyard if we instantiate our spawnDelay at 0. So the only way our graveyard will come out is if we're at a -1, and the only way we're at a -1 is if our spawnDelay is smaller than 0, not less than 0. So now when we instantiate at 0, we shouldn't actually be taken out of the graveyard right away. -1 in there, so we'll see. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but it does in my head. We'll give everybody a 0, and we'll see if they all spawn at once. Now, these are random spawn indexes, so they could all spawn at the same place, technically. We don't need to do it for V just yet, but actually it might yell at us. So let's go ahead and just say 0. Okay. Now any other, yes, we collide. So we'll give ourselves another 0. We just want to see. So here's like the moment of truth is if we can spawn all of our vultures at once. That means they're spawning on their own parameter rather than our taxi spawn logic, which is what they have been at. So we can, this vulture spawn timer, that's what they were being spawned with. But now they're going to be spawned with the spawnDelay parameter that is local to their class or their object. So let's see if they spawn all at once. We've got a success. They spawn at once. Let us change our spawning to false upon init. And then we want to become spawning once we're out of the graveyard. So we'll say our self-spawning will get true if we're taken out of the graveyard. Oh God. Oh no. Oh no. Oh wait, what is this? Let's try that. Is equal to -1, take us out of the graveyard. So the problem here is we're initializing us at 0, and then we don't decrement, let's say, yeah, greater than or equal to 0. then we would want to... this is jacked too. This is jacked. I don't like this. I don't like this. The problem is... this spawn delay is getting subtracted no matter what, which will then take us out of the graveyard. But we can't be taken out. Like, graveyard was our trigger to then update the X and Y positions of our stuff, but now if we pass in a 1 as the spawn delay parameter, it'll be in the graveyard. I think we have to say we only decrement the spawn delay if we're not in the graveyard. No, if we are in the graveyard. If we are in the graveyard, go ahead and decrement our spawn delay. And then as soon as the spawn delay hits 0 or smaller than 0, then we'd go ahead and take us out of the graveyard, which would then stop our decrement. Okay, so let's give us 1s instead of 0 in our play state whenever we initialize the Vulture. So Vulture instantiation, start at the top. Now we'll go to the end. So we want a 1 on every spawn delay parameter. So after 1 second, they should be taken out of the graveyard and become spawning. Instantiations that are at 0 still. No. Okay. So let's go back to our Vulture class. Now, if our spawn delay is greater than 0, which they are initialized as greater than 0, we'll start decrementing our spawn delay. If we're smaller than 0, we're going to say go ahead, set us equal to 0. Then if our spawn delay is literally equal to 0, then you take us out of the graveyard, go ahead, make us spawning. Why would spawning go from true to false after 1 second? What's going on there? Spawning gets true here, why would it be getting false? Is there something in our play state where we're sending our spawning? Look, we start spawning false. Why are we spawning true then? Why is that happening? Let's take a look here. We're spawning 1. Yeah, so we're printing up our Vulture's 1 spawning, which shouldn't be true. Shouldn't be started to true and shouldn't change to false. It should be the opposite. So what's going on there? Where are we doing that? Spawning false starts as false. Oops. Okay, we become unspawning if we rise. I think we need to say and not self.graveyard here, because we shouldn't be spawning. Okay, so that's right. Now it's spawning true, false, but we're still not rendering this. That's almost it. Time until spawn, because we don't need any of this anymore. Let's make sure we're not using this time until spawn anywhere. That could be screwing us. Just the one, okay. So we've got our spawning true and then false. Now, that should be tethered to what we instantiate our Vulture 1 at, as far as the last parameter goes. So let's see. What do you mean? Vulture. What do you mean? It's not found. What do you mean? We're in our Vulture class. Okay. Vulture 1. Where do we spawn this bad boy? Right here. Let's go to the end. We'll actually give this a 3. Now, does that 3 mean we spawn? See, our spawning shouldn't be after 1 second. It should be based on spawn delay here, because we're not turning our spawning to be false unless we're out of the graveyard. See, okay, okay. We only want to do this if we're in the graveyard. So if self.graveyard, we're in the graveyard. Actually, we only want to do this if we're not in the graveyard. Because we don't want to start decrementing that spawn delay until... Oh, never mind. Because we're using spawn delay to get out of the graveyard. But is that what we need to be doing? Spawn delay. We give it a spawn delay. And then we only become true on the spawning if that spawn delay is 0. So why is it that still going to false after 1 second? Let's print up our spawn delay and see what's going on. So what we're going to do here is print up our Vulture's table at 1, but our dot spawn delay, which should be getting modified by delta time. So we go here. Okay. Yeah, we're just set at 0. So that's not working as expected. We set it to 0 if our spawn delay is smaller than 0. So what if we take out this? Oh, and you know what? Let's see what order of operations we're spawning for our spawn delay. Let me see. Vulture here. Okay, not here. We're not calling this function, but here. Let's replace this with 5 or something. We should populate it with the better spawn delay. Once we figure out this function, we'll give it the better spawn delay parameter. We just need it to not overwrite. Yes, now our spawn delay seems to be working. We are not turning to be true because our spawn delay was smaller than 0. So maybe if we, oh yeah, well, we took this out, so I didn't write it. Right out. Spawning is still false. Spawning is still false. If our spawn delay is 0, spawning gets true. And our spawn delay was 0, right? So our spawning should have been true. Yep, was 0, so spawning should be true. Spawning should turn to true there. I'm not seeing why not though. It's a 5 second, but we shouldn't be at the 5 second. We only put that once. Yeah, we put that once. Something's going on with, because look, here, spawn delay is only 1. Now, we're only having the 5 here upon this dummy initialization. But when we really initialize it, oh, you know what? Wait, no, we didn't take out spawn timer just yet. Let's set our spawn timer to 0. So now we should overwrite our 5 with a 1. I'm not doing that. Vulture or spawn timer. Vulture spawn timer. Okay, none of this should matter just yet. Okay, yeah, we're not actually initializing these guys yet. What we should do is just delete that. And delete this. We shouldn't need this junk. Now we should be actually, you know, we don't care about the Vulture spawn timer anymore. That was our old stuff. So we should be able to, overwrite that dummy value 5 in our spawn delay with a 1. Yes, we do. Except we're resetting it. We're resetting it every frame because this is happening every frame. which is why we had the whole... Okay. So instead of doing this every frame, what we're going to do is just give us... We're going to take all this out, and we're going to put this in our tables populated after we initialize with dummy values. That way it only happens once. So that should get our 1 second to be counting down. We're still not spawning. We're still not spawning. And not even spawning, but our dot spawning. If we take a look at our Vulture class, we should be dot spawning if our spawn delay is 0, which it was. So there's something else going on here. Where are we spawning gets false? Well, we do it if we reach the top of our platform. So yeah, let's go ahead and say that we have to be and not self.graveyard in order to do that. Does that help us out? No, we're still false. So where else are we turning spawning to false? We start false. Okay, only 2 here. But our true, let's see, our spawn delay 0, which it is. We must be overriding it somewhere. So where is our dot spawning getting false? Okay. Well, if our taxi collides with a jockey. See, no, this is jacked, man. Here, let me just take this off, just in case this is the problem. Where else are we spawning gets false? Nowhere. So why? I'm taking out every spawning is false. Okay. Spawning is true. Spawning gets false. And we're gonna go bro, how? Okay. No more spawning is false except for right at the beginning. So let's see if it ever turns true. We do. So which one is messing it up? The one right here? Yes. But this is only happening if we're not self-graveyard, and we're not self-graveyard until our spawning is 0, so this doesn't make any sense to me. But, and it's even more broken because just because we're spawning doesn't mean we can actually see. Because our spawning is changing. So our spawning does manipulate our Y position. Let me just print up where that ostrich's X is and see. We'll take this and we'll say Vulture X or whatever. What I wanted. We want X dot. And we want Vultures 1.x. And we want to see if we're in the graveyard or not, or what that's looking like. Yes, not on the same line. Where? Isn't Control A increment? Okay, I don't know. That's really cool. Okay. Yeah, we're in the graveyard still. We're in the graveyard still. Graveyard. New line, new line. Oh, it increments the whole number, not just the number you're at. Okay. Makes sense. Okay, we're not in the graveyard. We're just not updating our X position. We should update our... Okay, this is jacked because we don't have a toggle to only spawn one thing at a time, so we're gonna have to, instead of in our global right here, no, our table populate, what do we call that? Here. Oh, no. This is wrong. This. Table's populated. Okay. So yeah, we're putting an X and Y in there, but then we're in the graveyard because our spawn delay isn't there, so our X gets overwritten. So we need to put these here. Let's leave us a note. We need to put these somewhere else. We need to put these after dummy initialization, but yeah, that's a little problem. We need to so instead of passing in an X parameter and then the spawn delay being a positive number, therefore we're not taken out of the graveyard, we're overriding our parameter with our graveyard's X. And then by the time we're out of the graveyard, it's like our X is still the graveyard X and it forgot what this parameter was. So we need to take it out of here. We need to take the instantiation out of here so that we can, well, or we can go in the Vulture class and make it so that we inherit, let's see, like we need to, like when we get out of the graveyard, when our graveyard becomes false, we need to update our X and our Y to be the parameter that gets passed in for the X and Y, which is X and Y. Yeah. So we should be able to say this. Okay, well, we forget it. Okay, we're gonna have to figure that out. But that's the reason. Yeah, because we're out of the graveyard, but we're still getting graveyard values. So it's because of the weird. Yeah. We can fix this, just not today. But let's go to our notes so we can. We're working on this. We did this more like spawnDelay. Whoopsie. We're not doing that. Configure Vulture class so spawnDelay doesn't screw up Vulture spawn render. That's what we're trying to fix. So I guess I'll leave us a little note saying like ensure Vulture inherits X and Y parameter once out of graveyard. Okay. So if we take a look at our get diff, we got a couple new notes. We added our spawnDelay parameter. We start off as spawning false. We decrement our spawnDelay, and we take ourselves out of the graveyard and become spawning if that spawnDelay is 0. And then we put. I guess we switch the order of that for some reason. I don't know if we need that change. I don't know. Yeah, we got rid of our Vulture spawn timer because that's what we were using to trigger it in the play state. And then we're now, every Vulture instantiation, we're actually passing in the last parameter, which is spawnDelay. And then we took out our spawning vultures and moved them to the init so we didn't keep overriding them. We're still busted. Yeah. We're making progress, but we've got a game plan, which is nice. I just don't know how to do it. It's like I know what's going wrong, I just don't know how to fix it. So at least we know what we're looking for. I want to say added spawnDelay parameter to vultures, but graveyard. I'll just do that. We'll get push. Okay. I'll catch you guys tomorrow, and we'll hopefully get our vultures spawning on screen again, not being all jacked up. What's cool about Tmux is I can leave this window on notes, and then I can go back to play state and just detach And then whenever we want to come back to the session tomorrow, we can run tmux attach and we're back here. So that should be good. But yeah, I'll catch you guys tomorrow for some more programming.